everybody, and welcome to the Happy Bean Talk. Today I have with me Han and Richard. So today's topic of discussion is going to be men and mental health. I brought these guys on because I want to talk about mental health, especially in the military, but mostly these are two really great men that are very open about discussing many things. And I've known Garcia for the last 2 years. I recently met Han, and you can just tell his energy is very positive, and you can tell both of these men have been through a good amount of life and have a lot of advice and good things to share with you. And the main thing that I wanted to talk about is, so with men and mental health, we all know growing up that, if a guy cries, your dad's gonna be most likely saying, suck it up. Or someone, maybe not, if it's not your dad, someone's going to be saying, suck it up, it's not manly to cry. And whereas a woman cries, it's totally okay. So I kind of wanted to see what you guys feel about that, and if that was your experience. What was your experience growing up as a man, and how were your emotions treated?
So I'll chip in for that. So just a little background. Obviously I was born and raised in Wilmington, but at a young age, my parents divorced when I was about 5-6 years old. So from that point on, it was just myself, my older sister, and my mom. And my mom was always working. So I grew up in a predominantly female dominated family. My mom and her sisters pretty much dominated the family dynamics. So in regards to emotion,
was it kind of normal in your family because of being more, for you, if you were to cry, was it more accepted within your family than maybe a family that was, all boys?
I'm not really sure, because I never really cried that much openly in front of my family members, because culturally speaking, and here in America, I just got the feeling crying in public is not necessarily something that is a very masculine thing to do, or something that's widely accepted, because it kind of opens.
So you feel like even from a young age, you got that from society, I'm a guy, so at school I'm not gonna cry and stuff like that. Or what age do you feel like you started realizing that
well, I had, and we all have certain things that we've been through in life. My significant stressor or life event happened when, after the divorce, my mom took custody of myself and my older sister, and we moved to the Raleigh area. And it was my first exposure to the public school system, where there was a lot of bullying, a lot of the normal bullying and being picked on, because obviously I'm Asian. So the school I went to was predominantly white, Black, or Hispanic. And because, no offense, but because in that school dynamic, most of the Caucasian families were very wealthy, so the other minorities, so the Black kids and the Hispanic kids, were more likely to pick on me and choose me, because they knew, or they had this misnomer or thought process that I was just fresh off the boat and I don't speak English, so who am I going to tell?
Okay.
I was at recess one day, and we were walking a track behind the school, and about 3 or 4 kids, I think it was a couple Black kids and a couple Hispanic kids, took me down this nature trail, and they proceeded to beat the ever-loving crap out of me.
Really?
Yeah, not my greatest memory, but it put a very good impression on me from a young age. To it was
to be tough, or some people will mess with you.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do, honestly, and I was very fortunate to have classmates who knew what was going on and that I confided in, because my mom was always working, and my sister was obviously 3 years older than me, so she wasn't even in the same school. She was going to middle school by the time or she's 3 years ahead of me. So the biggest thing I learned was that if you surround yourself with good people with good intentions, that a lot of times you can kind of dispel being alone and isolating yourself from a young age. And that's what I kind of learned from that. I wasn't much of a fighter. My mom kind of raised me not to fight other people. Fighting wasn't really something that was highly regarded for us. So like growing up, we didn't throw hands. That just wasn't in our blood to confront other people. Whereas, you know, some fathers would be like, "Hey, throw hands," you know.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know about. Yeah.
What was your like? growing up?
Like me, it was kind of like try to resolve conflict or avoid it.
Right. For me, growing up, it's obviously different because I grew up with 4 older brothers and 2 older sisters.
Okay.
So, and my oldest sister was out of the house at a very young age. So, mainly being raised by my 4 older brothers, kind of gave me the you know, you're a man, you know, toughen up type of thing, just like you explained earlier.
Yeah.
Like suck it up, you know. And always being in sports as well, like that kind of gives you the background, like, you know, you get hurt or something and it's like, hey, suck it up, you know what I mean? Like get back out there, you know, like. So that's how I grew up, but it doesn't mean that's okay. I feel like, because I mean I don't struggle with that, you know, like the mental illness part, but I understand it because you know, just because somebody's telling you like suck it up, and that's the way you grew up. And like most of your life doesn't mean it's okay, because there's some people who could be okay with it and like suck it up and go about their day and still be fine, but there's other people that have that in the back of their head where, hey, I'm a man and that's how it's supposed to be because that's the normal thing.
So then they're like holding in,
right,
and holding their
which is not
back.
normal by any means, you know what I mean? Saying suck it up and like you're a man doesn't mean like that's the right thing to do, because a lot of people struggle with that because they're like, okay, I'm a man and that's the way I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be tough, you know, and so. Yeah. So like I feel like the people, that's what the biggest problem is with like males in general, like struggling with mental illness, you know, like stuff like that, because they're in their head is, okay, this is not normal that I'm dealing with something like strong that's affecting me, so like I just gotta suck it up and move on.
Yeah, because when I was doing a little bit of research with y'all, we looked up and we seen that there was a statistics that was saying that out of 4 people that would commit suicide, 3 of them would be male. And then it was also showing that a higher percentage of males are going to be led to alcoholism. And I mean, I haven't done extensive research on this, so I can't 100% speak, but I would say that, you know, a lot of it, from just what I've noticed, is guys do tend to hold back emotions, almost look at emotion as negative, and like that's where I've like noticed, especially being one of the first females in artillery, whenever I'm obviously more emotional than I would say most of the guys, or at least I am okay with showing it. I wouldn't say that I'm more emotional than most of the guys, but I wasn't raised to have it be a bad thing. So for me, I've always expressed my emotions, and honestly, for me, sometimes emotions are negative, but a lot of times, like, for me, emotion has helped me get through a lot. Right. And I think that a lot of guys, since they're so focused on holding back those emotions because their ego, or they want to appear and tough, or they are scared that people won't think that they're as much of a man, that almost has a negative impact. And, you know, sometimes they do turn to drinking to like make up for the fact that they're not able to show their emotions. So when they drink, they can feel like, you know, a lot more loose. It's more of an excuse to be able to like let go. And
when by that time, like the people you say like they turn to alcohol or something like that, now those people don't have a clear conscience, and that's when the problems begin, like suicide or hurting themselves, because they want to do that, and because like I said, they're not in the right mind, so that stuff leads them towards those kind of things like suicide and stuff like that. And I have like I said earlier, I'm not like, I don't have an issue or a problem with mental illness, but I do that. Like, so nobody's perfect. So everybody's gonna have those rough times, no matter what. No matter breakup, whatever, issues in the family, deaths. And I've been through those things too. And like, I've known you for 3 years now, and like you never see me in my emotional side. You never had those talks with me where I'm like telling you my problems, because like, you know what I mean? Like, that's just who I am. You know, like, I've grown up to like not tell anybody, but when I go through issues, I like know how to cope and deal with them like on my own. And I'm not the type of person to like talk to somebody about it, which is bad, because I don't deal with any mental illnesses, but I feel like I still need that one person to like talk to, you know what I mean? Because like I said, nobody's perfect. Everybody goes through those issues, and like I'm like, you know, don't deal with like the mental illness issue, so that way I'm not like getting so caught up in the situation, because I could cope with it myself. But there's other people who have those illnesses that can't deal with it themselves. So growing up as men and having my problem where I'd rather just keep it in, they tend to like do the same thing just because like that's the way they're brought up, but they have those issues and it breaks them, and it really breaks them. They're already dealing with something hard because they're having that issue to deal with, plus the illness, and it's like two things coming in once and just destroying you, you know. So like I really like feel like,
and I think that if there were more men that don't struggle with mental illness, that were more open about their emotions and were okay with seeking help when they're struggling something, realizing that a lot of us are verbal processors, and if we're coming up to any sort of problem, it's good to talk it out, because you can verbally process and figure out like a better direction, whereas people who don't talk about it and just, you know, keep to themselves, like, it sometimes might not bring them down the best path, or like it would still maybe be a good path, but talking it out would have led them to an even better path. And I think men that don't struggle with mental illness and talk about it would help men that do struggle with mental illness make sure that they do for sure talk about it, because like you said, there are some people that really do actually need to reach out and find help. And I know I've opened up to many people that saying that, you know, I've had to struggle with depression, and it's been hard for me to even like go out and get help, but I know like I'm one of those people that has to go and get help when I can. I have to verbally talk it out, or else I will go down the way wrong path, and I've done that. All right, so now we're gonna kind of jump into a different topic here. So as far as being a man, what are some common misconceptions that y'all face, like when it comes to either showing emotion or dealing with anything mental health related?
I'll dive into that. So obviously we introduce ourselves as Marines. We're all active duty here. As far as like the other branches, I don't think neither of us can really vouch for the other branches or how their culture is. But the Marine Corps, I think, is unique in that we pride ourselves in that title, right? We earn it.
Yes.
You know, you earn that title as a U.S. Marine when you get across that parade deck, and you're, well, after the crucible actually, and you get that eagle globe and anchor. Yeah. But did any one of us really foresee in the environments that we, you know, experienced in the past few years? Did you see any of that coming? So
when I joined the military, was what I thought in my head it was going to be? Was it reality? No. Yeah.
And it's like an institutionalized like culture of a warrior mindset. So there's a lot of masculinity in the Marine Corps as far as like the standard. It's like the standard is like we're death dealing machines, and we're warriors.
Mean, we're here to green fighting machines.
Yeah, shoot, move, communicate, destroy the enemy by fire and maneuver, hand-to-hand combat, all that trash. So as males in the military, we're stepping into this institution knowing it's a military organization, a warfighting organization, and yet we still find ourselves in quagmire because we are still human beings before we became Marines. Yes. Can we agree on that? Yes. Yes. So just like earlier we discussed, our backgrounds are extremely different. We're from different parts of the U.S. We have different family dynamics, and that actually plays into how you become an adult. So essentially who you are today was based off of what your experiences were in the past.
Yeah.
So my experiences as a child was not trusting authority, but when I joined the Marine Corps, I talked to the recruiter. You go through boot camp. You learn a lot of these human skills, and you're basically just thrown into the deep end, and you're expected to sink or swim.
Yeah.
Really. I hope you guys like iron ducks, right? So, in case some of you don't know, we have swim call in the Marine Corps because we're an amphibious branch. So, hopefully. You swim because throw your ass in there. Oops. But anyways, the Marine Corps has a very masculine culture or warrior mindset. So we're always go, 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 go. We never, just to put it in perspective, I've been in almost 9 years, and every single command that I've been with or unit, I've had an officer or a senior staff NCO basically order me to go on leave because I was so dead set in being the best I could possibly can at my job. I didn't really care about taking time off. I really didn't.
Taking time for yourself too.
Yeah, taking time for yourself. And I had this mindset that I kind of dehumanize myself. I kind of turn off those emotions because there's no time for it.
And that's like kind of what we were just discussing, like that a lot of I wouldn't say this is limited to men, but people in general may not know that they are actually suffering. They don't take time to self-reflect, or they're just kind of like going through a limbo, like a zombie life. And I think that I see that happen a lot, definitely in the military. You go to work, you do what you're told, you go to your barracks, you play video games or you drink, and then you eat, and then you go to sleep, and then you wake up and you do the same thing all over again. And there's really not very much like I'm not saying everybody, but there's a wide percentage is not getting out and learning new things and exploring and doing new things. So then they're stuck in this kind of like rut. And I think that, especially for guys, and they get stuck into just going back to their barracks room, drinking, and being either just by themselves or with one or two other guys doing that same thing over and over, and that ends up taking a toll without them even realizing.
Right.
I don't know.
Because they're just so shut out, maybe, and they're just like in their own little hole. So like they're not surrounding themselves with other like people and going out, like you said, and like enjoying a good time out with just friends instead of like being closed out in your room. And so like that's another probably big issue with like people who deal with this stuff. Like they don't know they're not seeking for help. They don't realize that they have that problem. They
don't even know they need help.
Right.
They're just thinking that's just how life is. They don't even know. It's kind of like you don't see the light until you've seen the light. Like, or you don't realize until you put your glasses on how clear things are. Like a lot of the culture in the Marine Corps, and it's not bad nor good. It's just you just do your same thing, so you don't really realize the potential of how life could be and how good things could be. So you're kind of just stuck in this like limbo land, and might not even know you're depressed.
Right.
And a lot of times when we enlist in the not just the Marine Corps, but in the military in general, is that there's no time for emotion. But realistically speaking, if you're always go, 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 you're going to wear yourself out. Right. There's a reason why we have a system in place to take annual leave. Right. And it has very real physical consequences, and I'm a physical embodiment of that. I'm not at Wounded Warrior Battalion for no apparent reason, but in regards to mental health, I feel like there's a big misconception out there in the military, especially, is that mental health is regarded as a weakness.
Yeah.
Right.
A weakness in the military.
Which it is not.
Which is not, yeah.
No, it shouldn't be. And a lot of times we feel like that when we put on our camis, we put on this facade to protect ourselves, and we cover. And that's not just limited to active duty. You see it in the veteran community as well. Yes. So a lot of guys will get out thinking that Yeah, they get occasional depressed moods, or they're really anxious or really hyper alert to their surroundings. So it doesn't necessarily mean there's something wrong with you.
Right.
You don't need a diagnosis. I'm not a mental health provider, but and I'm by far not an expert, but
But getting help doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you.
yeah.
Having a mental illness doesn't mean there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, that's a big thing. There doesn't need to be something wrong, but if you feel like it is consistently getting you down, or you're consistently just hyper aroused from an alertness perspective,
Yes.
You should seek out those resources. You should talk to someone, because I find myself going down that rabbit hole and isolating myself. Hell, I didn't even want to. Initially, when you asked me if I wanted to come on this talk show, to be honest, I was like, oh man, this is gonna suck. Last time I did something like this was I was giving a graduation ceremony for high school when I was on recruiting duty for a small amount of time. I hate public speaking, and I hate like being in front of cameras and stuff, because I feel like I shouldn't be transparent. But eventually I come to realize that when 20 to 22 active duty or veterans kill themselves every day, you get tired of that.
Right.
So tired
And I guess I'm pretty sure all three of us can agree that we've had friends, we've had Marines, we've had other service members that we've worked beside, or we've gotten close to, we've gotten to know, or we've hung out or worked with them. And then all of a sudden you see something on Facebook or Instagram, and they're gone. They're
Right.
gone. And an obituary says just, hey,
And also, like, when people are dealing with these issues, they're I feel like a lot of the times they're being judged as well, you know, like just because you've been diagnosed with an issue or with a problem,
Or you're going to counseling.
yeah, like
it's okay.
it's like they judge you, and I feel like we're all human. You're a human just like I am, as well as you. You're still able to get through a whole work day perfectly fine. You're still able to live. You are able to hold a career. You know what I mean? You have more in life than just that diagnosis that you got, and like, so you live life just like I do. You know,
Yes.
so like, doesn't mean just because you're diagnosed with something doesn't mean like you're not.
A Marine.
Yeah.
it's
right.
okay to not be okay.
Right.
And whether you have a diagnosis or not does not make you any lesser of a Marine.
Right.
Yes.
Since I went to Wounded Warrior since May of 2018, it took me a whole year to actually process the fact that I'm not going to be a Marine anymore. And that's just not the truth. The truth is, I'm just not going to be active duty anymore.
Right.
The title of being a Marine and working
Will never
for it, and
leave.
earning it will never leave. And you're no lesser a person. This whole zero defect mentality is asinine, and it's actually it's harming the organization, because we need to look out for one another, and that's why we're having this discussion, right?
And
because we're very passionate about making sure we don't lose our brothers and sisters.
Yes.
Right.
And that's, I want to kind of start wrapping things up, but this is just, I love the 22 a day push-ups, push-up challenge and stuff like that, and that's great. But I'm not gonna lie, a lot of that is, once something has happened, then now we need to start, before something happens, we need to start making a change. And I truly, passionately believe that the way to make a change with this is for people to start being okay with talking about it. And like, I'm not gonna lie, even me, I struggle a lot with my mental health from time to time. I would say I'm an excellent Marine. I'm not perfect. I've definitely made mistakes in the Marine Corps. I've made mistakes as a person, but I definitely think that I'm a very hard worker, and I've contributed to the Marine Corps. And I feel like I can't openly, I schedule a lot of appointments during lunch so that I don't even have to tell my sergeant, okay, hey, I'm going to go see a doctor, because then they're like, why? And then I feel like,
Right.
I'm gonna go see a therapist, and that's how it should be. And so even me starting now, even us just having this conversation right here, if I have a therapy appointment, I'm gonna go say, hey, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm gonna go see my therapist. I see him once a week,
because it's
okay.
Yeah, and it's okay. It's not like it's not gonna affect your life, your personal, your workplace. You're not gonna it's not gonna really stop you from doing what you do on a daily basis. Yeah, it gets you, and it has your times where you can't deal with certain situations because of the illness. But you know what I mean, you're still going to be able to keep your job and do your job. Like, you're a hard worker. I know you're a hard worker, and it's never affected you from completing the mission like we always have done. Like,
Yes.
it's not going to affect you in that way. So like,
And I think that a lot of people that the reason that mental health sometimes does affect mission accomplishment is because they're not getting help, because they're afraid that people will think that if they get help that they're not able to complete mission accomplishment. So it's like a catch-22.
Right.
But what people need to realize is getting help actually will help you complete the mission.
And
So
like,
it's okay
it just brings
to
it
get
back
help.
to like the judgmental thing. Like I said earlier, like people are afraid to even tell somebody that, hey, I might have a problem, I need to go see someone, because now they're afraid of being judged
Or getting kicked out of the military. So it needs to be clear that you're not going to get kicked out of the military. There are HIPAA laws in place. Like, you're not going to get kicked out of the military for admitting that you're depressed, for admitting that you're struggling mentally. Like, you're not going to get kicked out, and it's okay that you're going through those things, and you need to get help and get back in the fight. Just like if you had a broken leg, they're not going to immediately kick you out of the military. They're going to try to help fix your broken leg and get you back in the fight.
Yeah, it's just like physical health and mental health.
Exactly.
A lot of times we categorize them as something separate, but they're actually very parallel, and they're actually on the same field. So it's not physical health is more important than mental health. They're neck and neck. They're very important because before we became Marines, and I said this before, we're human beings. And as human beings, we have to tend to these wounds, not just in the mind, but in our body, our soul, and all that stuff, other stuff. So, and I'm gonna kind of switch up the topics here for right now, and you can look this up on YouTube. There's a bunch of TED Talks. TED Talks, it's kind of like they do these videos of guest speakers, inspirational or motivational speakers, and a couple of them actually talk about the suicidality of individuals in the U.S. And a big thing is what are different mechanisms, right? So I just want to put it out there. Basically, as males in the military, because it's such a masculine setting, right? We're so macho and we have to be these tough beacons of authority and leadership, right? But when things get tough, and I saw myself going down this road back in 2017, and it's rough. So as a recruiter, you know, we worked from like 7 in the morning till like 11 at night.
Many hours.
We worked a lot of administrative hours, whether it's just canvassing, scheduling, or making phone calls. And I saw it as a necessity. It was necessary for me because it was my job. But what I didn't know is that if I didn't tend to myself and raise questions and actually reached out to certain resources, I was basically going to work myself into a grave. And I was very close to that in 2017. So I spent about 7 months. You guys don't know about this. But basically it was, I was only on the streets for about 6 or 7 months, which is a relatively slow time. I was just working so much, and we were always at the office, that when I got home I couldn't sleep. And eventually, the longer day after day after day of just getting a handful of hours of sleep, like a couple hours of sleep, I started drinking. And the problem with not getting help is we often default to negative coping mechanisms, so alcohol, you know, or we'll do other things, but mine was alcohol. So I started drinking 1 Jack and Coke, 2 Jack and Cokes, 3 Jack and Cokes the next night, or as the weeks progressed, because ultimately, and I learned this at a substance abuse rehabilitation program on Camp Lejeune, is that most people drink to do one of two things: to feel something or feel nothing. I wanted to feel nothing. I wanted to feel nothing because I felt like nothing. Because I was working so much, I felt like I was never enough. And we kept not making mission every month, and it was stressful, and just the environment we were in, the areas we were in. I don't blame anyone. I don't blame anyone. In fact, I would blame myself. I would take responsibility for that. I didn't ask enough questions to my boss to train me more and teach me more techniques, or teach me how to be more human instead of robotic. And eventually, in August of 2017, I was having thoughts of death and suicide, because I felt so inadequate, because in the Marine Corps we were always taught that we had to be the best at everything we did, and when I wasn't being the best and not making mission or not making the objectives on every day, I broke a little bit, and the only thing I had was and I think my boss had said something that kind of set me over the edge, and the best thing I did was just walk out of the office, and I went to my truck, and I basically broke down, and the only thing I could think about was death, and it was really hard for me, and the only thing I could do was text the crisis helpline, and I was texting with some random person, and yeah, it was tough. So what they did was get in touch with like the closest emergency room, and they referred me to UNC Chapel Hill. So I actually drove myself there, self-admitted myself, and I spent a few days in their triage unit before I was admitted to kind of like not like a mental health ward. So let's get this straight, right? Just because you go to an emergency room and you self-admit yourself for thoughts of suicide does not mean like you're fucking cuckoo.
Yeah. No, it does not.
No, it does not mean that. But you're just in a state where you need to be stabilized. So sometimes you just need to step away from that environment.
And you're not going to get kicked out of the Marine Corps for that to happen, too. Because I think a lot of people will get to that point, and I'm not going to lie, I've went through similar things. And then they don't call someone because they think they're going to get kicked out, and then it gets even worse, and then they do end up just actually doing that. And I'm so thankful that did not happen to you, and that you're here sitting next to us right now.
Yeah, I'm so thankful for like you actually being that person to pick up the phone and reach for help, because a lot of Marines they don't do that. We're like you said, we're like kind of like robotic when it comes to things like that, where like we have to like kind of like get ourselves out of this hole, get ourselves out of this slump, so like that was really big on your part to
and
reach
to
out.
me that makes, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna say this, that to me is a man right there. Like, to me, the macho manliness that everyone is trying to reach is that actually realizing self-awareness, like, I am really not doing fucking good right now.
Right.
And I really need some fucking help.
Right.
That, and I'm gonna get it.
Right.
And like, the fact that you did that, to me, that shows that you are a man. Like, I'm not saying that people who don't reach out aren't men. I'm not trying to say that at all whatsoever. But like, that's probably the hardest thing. That was the hardest thing that someone can do, and to me, that shows true strength. Yeah. And that you were able to pull yourself.
The hardest thing is like really like telling yourself, "Hey, I really think I do need the help," and actually reaching out for that help. Yes. That's probably the two hardest things to do. Right. Yeah.
And there was no repercussions. When I finally made it to their top floor, where they had a lot of high-risk individuals, such as myself, I only spent like a few days there. And then, my staff in SOIC, a couple other peers from my recruiting office came by. My sergeant major, my commanding officer at the time, came by and made sure that I was okay. And, I talked to them, and I was just outright honest with them and told them what was going on. And nothing happened. I was not in JP. I wasn't negative. There was no negative counseling or anything. If anything, there was a more open dialogue into what had happened and how can we prevent this from happening again.
So I think that's a misconception that us we almost make up in our heads.
Right.
Or that maybe we're so afraid to get help that we make up in our heads, no, I can't get help in the Marine Corps because if I do, I'll get kicked out. Or
Right.
if I no, I can't get help in the Marine Corps because if I do, people are going to look less at me. But no, like, look, all those people came and not only, they literally came and visited you.
Yeah.
And you did not get kicked out, and there were no repercussions. I can't say that word. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
There's no career repercussions.
Yes.
And like he said earlier, we didn't know that part of him that he went through in his life, and I can't say it as for me, like as a personal thing, I can't say it, but it seems like the help worked. Did it work?
It did.
And
It
'cause like I
absolutely
said,
did.
like we just met Han, and we didn't know that part in his life that he went through, and he's a great guy. Like, he really is a good guy. Just for meeting him, he went out with us to do some volunteer work, and like, he is literally like a good person, a great guy. So I feel like, like I said, I'm not speaking out of his terms, but I feel like it did work, because now you're on a different different page in your life where you're dealing with it in a different way. Like, you're trying to give back, and you're trying to help out others.
Truly showing that evil can be turned into something good, and the hard times that you overcome can actually, like, I'm sure that you speaking on this, which so many people are afraid to speak of, is going to help a lot of people. So when they're at that point, they're gonna think, okay, I'm not gonna lie, they'll probably be like, if Han could do it, I can do it too. I'm gonna reach out and I'm gonna call someone right now, and that's the point of this. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your story, because I know that's not easy for you, or wouldn't be easy for anybody else to like come out here and like tell your story. So
thank you.
That's really nice. It's really cool.
Thanks. It's really hard because sometimes you just got to step out of your comfort zone.
Right.
A lot has happened in between that suicide ideation back in August of 2017, between then and now. Do I regret it? Yeah, I do. I kind of do. Because it was an impulsive move on the fly. I was super stressed, and I was in a semi-altered state because I was just red with anger. I was just angry because my boss had said something to me, and it really didn't make me feel very good. I was having thoughts of things that weren't very good. So to me, the best thing to do is not to dishonor myself and do anything rash or impulsive. So I admitted myself. I reach out to those resources that are available. It's great, and I appreciate you guys having me out here, because I've just to let everyone know, back in November, when the Happy Bean Project was in its infancy still, and she was just, you were still pushing out your first bags of coffee.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I kind of got wind of you on Instagram, and I was like, all right, okay, let's see what she's about. So you were starting the Happy Bean Project, you were making coffee. I love coffee, so I'm like, I bought some bags. And then what really attracted me to what you're doing here is initially your profits were being donated to NAMI, which is basically an organization dedicated to doing research and development and providing resources to help individuals with mental health issues. And that spoke volumes to me, seeing that you're a Marine, you still have a full-time job and a duty as a cannoneer in the artillery community for the Marine Corps, and you still have the time to channel that ambition to addressing a very critical issue in our country that's not just affecting civilians, but also the military men and women that are serving. And going back to what I said before, I am tired of losing brothers and sisters every day. I may not know all of them, but they are still part of that less than 1% of the population of this country that is still committing suicide. So I encourage, just to whoever views this video, if you ever find yourself having thoughts of death or suicide, you are not a bad person, first and foremost, and you're not weak. It is okay to not be okay. I would highly encourage you to reach out to a myriad of resources. I got lucky with a crisis helpline, and we're gonna do the research, and we'll type up a little Word doc, or
Yes.
we'll attach something to the end of this video, so that way you are not alone. The biggest thing you can do is surround yourself with supportive people and have a support network of whether it's friends, families, other service members, people you can trust that they're not gonna look down upon you. It's always within your control.
And so we'll put together a list for all of you, and then the last thing that we're going to close on is, even if you're not going through something like noteworthy, like say you have never been through trauma, say you haven't been to combat, say you haven't had any huge significant life event that you can still be depressed. So it's not, a lot of the 22 a day suicides are actually not combat related. So this is not just for, Marines that have been through combat, even though obviously we all highly respect and value those Marines, and we know PTSD is a very real thing, but it's also want to look at the Marines that have not gone to combat. And it's okay that you haven't gone to combat and you still feel depressed. You don't have to have a reason, okay? You don't have to have a reason to talk about your problems. You don't have to have a reason to reach out for someone. So if you're having negative thoughts and you're feeling suicidal, or you're just feeling really down and you feel like you don't have a legitimate reason, you don't need to have a legitimate reason, okay? So just reach out for help anyways, and we'll put together that list.
And this goes out for anybody, even if you're not the person who has problems. Somebody, you heard about somebody, you could recommend them to watch this video, and I'm sure Shannon's gonna put some links down, so
Yes.
you could even contact her, talk to her. She's open to talk, and he will be what do you call it? He'll be tagged in the video, I'm sure, so you could even talk to Han about it. I'm
Yes.
sure he got a lot of things he could say, or he could help you in that.
He knows a lot of resources.
And this is not the only time I'll show up here. I think this is a very fascinating forum to open dialogue and discussion on really critical topics, such as mental health in the military, and not just military also.
Yes.
Right. Yeah,
In
just
general.
mental health in general. Yeah. So even if you're not military and you have issues, you could contact the Happy Bean page, and Shannon will give you the resources. Han will be tagged into it as well. So
In closing is, I know for me and my struggles with depression, that the thing that's helped me a lot is giving back, and starting this Happy Bean project has given me a lot of purpose to my life and has actually helped with my mental health a lot. So if you're looking to go out of your comfort zone and help those that are struggling, please reach out to me to become a volunteer. We're all 3 volunteers, and we go out to either the streets, homeless shelters. Soon we're going to be adding to go to mental health facilities, and we make coffee and give it to those in need, and it does make a big difference for those that you're serving and for your own self. So contact me if you're interested in volunteering. Bye. Okay, so we got Hello everyone, and welcome to the Happy Bean Talk. Oh my god. Brought us I always mess up it for the first couple times I do stuff, so sorry. Start over.